Jesus. Wasn't my side. Were you guys listening to this or not?
No.
We know as cleansers, and they really do a great job in removing all that oil and the dirt that will build up on the skin surface. So emulsifiers, they're used to mix that water and
You need to
oil
know this. I'm
combination
straightforward.
so that they can penetrate the skin very easily. Oil and water emulsions are oils that are suspended in a continuous water phase. So it's not, there's a lot of science behind it, but for us, the key thing that we want to really think about when we think about emulsifiers is this is the base used to mix that water and oil in a formulation. Water and oil emulsions, they do contain small droplets of water and continuous oil base. They're also going to be a big breeding ground for bacteria and fungus. So that's why it's so important that we try to really clear away from things that are not going to have preservatives, or just know those products that don't have preservatives that are emulsifier. They're going to have a really short shelf life. So you're going to get the most use out of a cleanser that's an emulsifier that is backed up by that preservative. So here I've listed some of the key examples that we know of as emulsifiers. So go ahead and take a look at those. These are the main ones that I really want you to start looking at the back of your ingredient labels and really start to familiarize yourself with these key ones. These are going to be, like I said, the most common ones that you're going to see from one ingredient label to the next.
Still writing it down. This chapter.
Colorants and fragrance. So I think when a lot of us hear colorants or fragrance, we kind of crawl in our skin a little bit. At least I think most estheticians do. So let's talk about colorants. Colorants are dyes or pigments in cosmetic products. So let's face it, if you have a formulation, a product that has no color to it, it's not going to look too appealing. So clients are going to buy, as we do too, products that look just more appealing in general. So a dye or pigment comes as a big part of play into this. Dyes or pigments of vegetable, animal, or mineral origin, they do not need to be certified for use. So that's kind of important to kind of keep in your back pocket. Vegetable origins, if we're talking about vegetable origins of colorants, they can include beet powder, grape skin extract, caramel, and beta carotene. Common dyes from animals, this is very gross, but it's usually extracted from dried insect bodies, which is pretty disgusting. However, we don't really need to worry about that because the most commonly used one is going to be from mineral origins. And all of your professional skincare lines, I can guarantee, are not using any kind of animal colorant, so I wouldn't worry about it. Just give me the information. So as far as like natural colors, alkanite, annatto, carotene, chlorophyll, saffron, turmeric, those are all going to be great examples. Mineral pigments, like I just said, mostly of our professional skincare products. They're colored or white chemical compounds that have anti-inflammatory and protective properties. Minerals do not support the growth of bacteria, which makes products containing them highly recommended following procedures that can compromise the skin. Also very interesting is that there are presently only 35 colorants that the FDA actually approves. F, D, and C colorants are synthetic colors, and they're permitted for use in food, drugs, and cosmetics. If, however, a colorant is allowed only in drugs and cosmetics, it will be designated as D and C, for example. D and C blue number 1, D and C yellow number 10, or D and C red number 30. A lot of confusion. I know there's a lot to it for many estheticians. I think the biggest thing to take away from, you're not one that really wants to dive deeper into colorants. I think the biggest thing to remember is that there are 3 different kinds, that vegetable, animal, and mineral. And rest assured that our professional products, like we talked about, are using those mineral origins and what some of those origins actually are. Fragrance. Most of us, again, this just makes our skin proud, fragrance in products. Right away when I think about a fragrance in a product, I just think about skin irritations and reactions. There's just story after story of talking to clients, doing that initial consultation, finding out what they're using on their skin, and just taking the time to, do the due diligence if you're not familiar with the product, finding out what it is. If it's over the counter, most often there's going to be a pretty potent fragrance in there. Getting those clients off of those, I can't stress it enough, getting off of over-the-counter products onto professional skincare, getting away from all of that irritating fragrance. Time and time again, client's skin starts repairing itself. It is like the most easiest, remarkable fix that you can think of. It's so funny because I think, and I've got my own stories too, but we go down this rabbit hole of trying to think, oh, well, it could be this, and we're using this product, and we're using this, and a retinol in combination with an AHA, and they shouldn't do that. Well, sometimes it's just very simple, and they're using something that has a fragrance in it that's irritating their skin. So just again, think about those little simple changes that do big things. Fragrances also, when you look on product labels, it doesn't have to tell you what the actual fragrance is. So it could just say fragrance, it could just say perfume. We don't really know what the fragrance is. It doesn't have to be disclosed, unfortunately, in the US. Other countries have different standards, and European standards are very high, which is excellent. But mainly speaking here in the US, fragrance, there's just not a lot of control over it. So try steer away from products where you don't know what that actual scent is. Suspending agents and solvents. Let's take a look at suspending agents. So in formulation, a suspending agent provides that desired consistency of a product. So whether your product is going to feel thick, thin, heavy, light, whatever that consistency turns out to be, really comes down to what suspending agent is used. A great example, and I've listed those below, but one of the biggest ones is going to depend on what kind of gums are used in that suspending agent. It really makes a difference in how that formulation spreads on the skin, how it feels on the skin. I'm a big fan of different gums and formulations, and I think it's great to just start getting familiar with some of the different ones that I've included below. Another one, a big one that you're going to see a lot is that car bomber. You're going to see the alcohol as well. So some great ones to keep in mind. The next one let's talk about is solvents. So what do solvents do? Solvents help dissolve and dispense other substances. So a very common one that you're going to see in products is going to be alcohol. But the important thing that we always want to remember about alcohol is of course it has that ability to dry out the skin. It can be very irritating. It can cause some of that flakiness and that redness. So it just kind of depends how much is used in the product. And some of these solvents, they also can give off some pretty harsh smells and can irritate those mucous membranes in the skin. But it's still important to know that solvents have a huge role in skincare formulations and really play a part on that vehicle and that delivery system of how they dissolve and dispense other substances. Stabilizers and buffers. So when you think about these two words, I really want you to start associating these two categories with the pH of the skin. They play a huge part. So stabilizers maintain.
I have a handout on the pH. You guys are going to have to know some of the pH because they're going to ask you on a pH.
The pH of the skin. They're basically added to products to prevent an emulsion from fluctuating. So in turn, it's aiding in that emulsion stability and it's improving that shelf life of the product, making it last longer. So again, here's some common examples that are listed below. These are going to be some of the main ones that you'll see on your ingredient labels. The second one we're going to talk about when we think of pH is going to be buffers. So the buffer's job is to maintain or actually adjust that pH in a product. They can be a solution of stabilizers, resist, or they minimize changes in pH when an acid base is actually added. So here are some more examples. pH has a huge part in our skincare formulations, and we really want to get that pH right on point. So we really start, so we really prevent some of these other skin conditions from happening.
Oh, skin ingredients. You guys need to learn that really good to learn what they're for. Okay? Learn what it does for different skin types. Okay?
We're going to do a hands-on, we're going to make some stuff.
That's not good.
Antioxidants is such a fun category, so widely used by estheticians, such a great part of high-end education. Antioxidants, in a nutshell, fight free radical damage that cause oxidative stress on the skin. So, antioxidants, as we see here, substances or chemical compounds that work in a number of different ways to protect cells from that free radical damage. And that mainly comes from, and I think we all know it, but if we need a refresher, that free radical damage, where does it come from? In extrinsic factors. So, environmental factors, sun damage, that's all breaking down that cellular structure of the skin, causing that free radical damage. If you need a refresher, just on that free radical damage itself, go back to that, the Mastering Skin Conditions course so you can refresh your mind on how that process actually works. So let's take a look here. We're going to be let's break down all the really good antioxidant ingredients that we're going to see time and time again that are tried and true in our field. So the first one, caffeine. Caffeine is such a great ingredient. It's very stimulating. It increases the effectiveness of sunscreen by fighting UV-induced free radicals. So that's pretty neat. If you've got a sunscreen that's got caffeine in it, and you know to tell your client, oh, my client says, oh, it's got caffeine in it. That's pretty cool. I don't know why, but it looks neat, and you can tell your client it's actually increasing the effectiveness of the sunscreen by fighting that UV. induced free radical damage. Wow, how do you look? You look like 100 times better than the esthetician, you know, that's working at your spa too. So, again, get that upper edge. Know these very common skin ingredients. The next one, vitamin A. If I could bathe myself in vitamin A, I think I would. When we think of retinol, we're going to break retinol down a bit further, retinoids, because there's just so much to say on that. But know right now, it's a very powerful antioxidant. Vitamin C, we're going to break that one down a little bit further because there's actually 3 different types of vitamin C. So I think a lot of people, a lot of clients think about vitamin C and think about taking it internally and really need that client education of what it does externally when you topically apply it to the skin. So, and really giving you that antioxidant protection and fighting that UV damage and that photo damage. That's all going to become a huge play in vitamin C. It's another great anti-aging ingredient, can't say much about it. But the biggest thing is really knowing the 3 different types, the delivery system, and how stable that vitamin C is. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. Tocopherol. Tocopherol is actually vitamin E. So many great things about vitamin E. I think a lot of us know about tocopherol, but if you happen to see tocopherol, know that that's a vitamin E. It's an antioxidant. It's a great healing agent as well. It's also a great anti-aging ingredient, and it's used very commonly with vitamin C. So when we combine the two and we put vitamin C and we put vitamin E together, we have what's next on our list, which is ferulic acid. So ferulic acid is a very potent plant-based antioxidant. When used with 15%, let's break it down, 15% vitamin C and a very low percentage, only 1% vitamin E, it doubles the photo protection. So you're getting double the effectiveness of just using one by itself. So that's a really very great thing for client education. And most of your professional skincare lines, you're just not going to see like a vitamin C serum. If you start looking at your ingredient labels, you're going to see that there's a low percentage of vitamin E in there. So you're getting such a better benefit. They really kind of work hand in hand with one another. So besides being a really great protection against photo aging, it's also, it's been proven actually to help reduce the potential risk for skin cancer. So wow, think about that. You've got clients coming in and they're, maybe 40s, 50s, and skin cancer is already kind of on their mind. They've been to their dermatologist and they've had moles checked out and they're telling you their whole life story because that's what happens. That's a really cool thing now that you got in your back pocket about vitamin C and vitamin E, and another reason why they should be buying that product from you, why you're retailing them that product. The next one, alpha lipoic acid. This is a lipid and water-soluble antioxidant. It's really, the skin really likes this one. It's very easily tolerated on all skin types and skin conditions too. It's just a really nice, light antioxidant. It really helps, it does a great job of repairing protein damage, and it's also been shown to enhance, once again, the effects of vitamin C and E to control inflammation. So wait, now we've got vitamin C, vitamin E, we've got the ferulic acid, and now we're adding in alpha lipoic acid, making all of these combinations stronger and controlling that inflammation. So really, guys, when I really start breaking this down and talking about it to you, is I want you to go find whatever you're using in your professional skincare line. If you're using a vitamin C serum, go get the label out, take a look at it, see what kind of combinations they are using. I had a really cool story
when I had owned my day spa, I had a client come in and she was using, I don't want to mention the company, but it was a professional skincare company, and she was using this vitamin C. She swore up and down, oh my gosh, this was the only vitamin C she could use. She wasn't going to use anything else, and I didn't have an account with this company that she was using. It was a high minimum order to open, and that's another chapter. But I had my product that I wanted to sell her. So I took hers, her vitamin C, and then I took my vitamin C, and I kind of did a side-by-side. I asked her, hey, do you mind if I do this for you? I just want to do a little research for you so I can kind of show you a little bit about what mine's doing versus what yours is doing. And she's like, oh yeah, absolutely. You're doing free work for me. Why not? You know, you're investing in me. Sure. So I took those two. I took, you know, my vitamin C, her vitamin C, and when I did this side-by-side, my vitamin C was so much more potent because it had the C, the E, the ferulic acid, the alpha lipoic acid. It had a better delivery system. It had higher concentrations. And it turns out my vitamin C was only half the price of what she was paying for her own $200 vitamin C serum. And as soon as I showed her my research, and it was all very factual, side by side, what it was, and I broke it down and I explained these things to her, she's still not buying vitamin C 3 years later to this day. So, it was great things, and why it's just a story of why we need to know ingredients and knowing these little things, how we can help our retail sales and really help our clients be happy. That's what it's all about, getting them results. Okay, so that's about alpha lipoic acid. Let's move on to coenzyme Q10. I absolutely love Q10. It is an amazing anti-aging ingredient. It's lipid soluble, and it helps protect against intrinsic and extrinsic aging. It's also said to produce energy for cellular vitality and help stabilize cell membranes. So it's think of it like a power plant of cells to increase that cellular energy that's going on in the skin. I was already coenzyme Q10. I want it like in every anti-aging ingredient that I'm using. I've had just such good success with this one. And then the last ones on here, let's see. These are all great ones to know about, but just as far as like, yeah, I was kidding. What happened? You touched it. I didn't touch nothing. I didn't touch nothing. It's disconnected. The tocopherol, ferulic acid, alpha lipoic, the coenzyme Q10. And again, I'm sure everybody's got their favorites. The main thing I really want everyone to know is why we use antioxidants. That's where your client education is key. You need to be able to explain to your client the what free radical damage is and how antioxidants play a part in this. You can come in and tell them and suggest you need to be on this vitamin C serum. You should be on this product because it's got coenzyme Q10. Yeah, for yourself, very simple things, your own things.
I'm not sure if she does.
But is free radical damage basically like environmental damage? Or just like vitamin C?
So, you all know that vitamin C is one of the most popular active ingredients. The neat thing about vitamin C is that we don't necessarily need this on the inside of our body, so we have to think about getting vitamin C through other forms, such as nutrition and topical products. So, as far as vitamin C through topical product, we know it does some great things for the skin. The first one, it just creates that perfect cellular environment. It fights free radical damage, as it is an antioxidant. It inhibits melanin formation, which that makes it great
for clients that are dealing with hyperpigmentation, melasma, skin discoloration. It absorbs UV light. Just a quick note on this, it doesn't mean that it's replacing an SPF, but it does absorb a little bit of UV light. And then some wonderful things as far as the performance of vitamin C is it stimulates collagen synthesis, it stabilizes vitamin E, and it also has great anti-inflammatory functions. A quick thing about vitamin E, vitamin E is such a great ingredient because it's got so many healing properties, but when vitamin E is applied, it just doesn't last long. So when you combine vitamin C and E together, it recharges this vitamin E, it kind of reactivates this vitamin E. So that ingredient by itself is not going to last longer because you join those two together. Okay, so as far as vitamin C, let's break it down over here. We've got 1, 2, and 3. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is, to this side, is L-ascorbic acid. This is going to be the most common, strongest form.
Take your picture.
I'm gonna do the first one on the other side, like that.
Oh, yeah, the part is okay. I guess we can just kind of take a picture.
Like both sides.
Okay.
She probably has to take like a big stick so she can just
Yeah.
see it from far.
When she says inhibits membrane formation, does that mean like it evens the skin tone out?
L-ascorbic acid. This is going to be the most common, strongest form of vitamin C that you're going to get in the topical product. The only problem with L-ascorbic acid is it's extremely unstable. And I'm sure we've all heard that so much before about this particular ingredient being so unstable. Air and light exposure are going to actually oxidize this ingredient. So that you're not getting any benefits from the vitamin C. And actually, when the oxidation occurs, you can see some irritation on the skin. So it's actually doing more harm than good. So be really careful about that. Educating your clients that that product doesn't have any signs of discoloration or odor in that product. Don't even put it on your skin because it's not doing anything like that. The other thing about L-ascorbic acid is it's very pH dependent. Now we all know the usual state of our skin, pH of our skin is at 5.5. But for this L-ascorbic acid to be really effective, it has to be formulated at 3.5 pH or lower. What happens is there is an ionic charge on that ionic molecule that is removed so it can actually penetrate past the strand of corneum of the skin. So that's really important. Another quick note, when we see a product that has straight L-ascorbic acid, LLA, and it's formulated so it is within this lower pH range, anything within a lower pH, we don't want to use on our skin or have our clients be using on our skin on a daily basis. It's going to start irritating their skin. So anything in that lower pH range, that's going to be more of a cup 1 to 2, or depending on the skin type, anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week for an application. Okay, so those are some great things that we've learned about L-ascorbic acid. I want to move on to the next one, which is L-ascorbyl palmitate. Now this is going to be your more stable vitamin C, but it's also going to be less potent. However, the whole delivery system is much more effective, so you have that stability of the product. We're not running that risk of the product oxidizing and becoming bad. It is a derivative of L-ascorbic acid, and it's effective at a neutral pH. So we don't have to get that in that formulation of a 3.5 or lower and be cautious about how many times we're using it and all the skin irritations and things that come along with it. So it's a really nice, safe way of using vitamin C. And the last ones that I have down here, this magnesium phosphate and the tetrahexanol, these are going to be just some other common examples of stable and potent forms, also lipid soluble forms of vitamin C. However, I see in our ingredients, as far as in the aesthetics world, we're kind of playing more in the L-ascorbic acid and the L-ascorbyl palmitate here. So another quick thing I want to show you is, this is my little diagram here of the cell. Vitamin C and E are old, and I'm just telling you E too because I love seeing E together. But when you put vitamin C onto the skin surface, it's not going to penetrate into the cell. But what that is going to do is that is going to deliver all of those great nutrients here to the outside of the cell. And so the C and E, is one that you want to advise clients to use in the morning. And another thing too, I think when we put on vitamin C, it just delivers that really nice, youthful, refreshed look. We don't want to have clients put on those ingredients and then just go and sleep on them, because that's an ingredient where you immediately start to see a visible change in the skin. So they want to really hone in on that and be able to see that appearance throughout the day. So CNE, you're going to get the best use out of that in the morning. And then in the PM, as far as antioxidants, that's going to be your vitamin A and your vitamin Bs. So your retinols, right? That's not something you want to put on in the morning. You want to have your clients use your A and B in the PM and C and E in the morning. And then A and B are going much further in, breaking past these little membranes of the cell to deliver into the actual structure of the cell. All right, let's move on.